What's happening in the canine industry? For all the latest news, views, and expert opinions, stay right here for the Canine Paradigm. You'll hear from industry leaders, experts, doyens of the industry, learned colleagues, movers and shakers, and the odd randy guest. Get the latest insights and expert advice from both here and abroad from the people in the know. Now, here are your hosts, Glenn Cook and Pat Stewart. And I'm Lofty Fulton, and I'm out of here.
Hey, Glenn, I reckon it's time for a new ad.
Do you reckon? We just went 14 months with the old one.
We don't even have sponsors anymore, so it probably was a good thing to take it down.
I think they just got so sick of it.
Yeah. So we've decided to no longer take sponsors on the show. The main reason being it comes with a level of admin that we're just not prepared to do.
Yes.
And we want to bring you good dog training information. So there's really only two things that we're interested in telling you about before you come into the show. First one being Canine Paradigm. Glenn, hit us with the details.
Thousands of customers, mainly in Australia and in the USA. We'd love to get in other places around the world, which I think will be on the list. We've got 5-star reviews to the galore. We've had skeptics, people who just don't believe products such as Canine Paradigm can do anything for their dogs. They've tried it. They've come back and they've said it works. It's made a massive change, or it's made a mild change, or it's made a change. That was one of the things Narelle was always working towards. She makes sure she does the science. She likes to peer review everything she's trying to do as much as possible. These things aren't just done by chance. She has done a lot of work, a lot of prep getting it to where it is. Extremely proud of her for all the effort that she's put behind it. Not just because she's my wife, not just because it's our business or her business, but because it works and it's done what it says it's going to do, and it's at such a great level as well. So if you're looking for something to improve the health and well-being of your dogs, you can't go past Canine Paradigm. Check it out online, caninesurgicals.com.au.
I love it. I, this year, am changing the way that I teach. I am an educator. It's what I love to do, and I've been trying to find the best way to do that. And in 2026, I'm launching a subscription service. In the past, people have had to buy my courses. You own them outright or you own them for a period. And that has been great, except that it does cut some people out because of the high price point that they can't get in on, where a subscription service allows people to come in. So if you want to check out what I'm doing this year, there's a ton of really high quality information, as well as community forums, live calls, and all that kind of stuff within the Serious Dog Business community that I've launched. There'll be links in the show notes, or you can jump onto the school platform and search Serious Dog Business. You'll find me there.
Let's just remind people that if they do want to support our show, they can head over to Patreon. We always do a wrap up at the end of the show, but Patreon keeps the lights on. If you want to support us, this is the only financial way that the Canine Paradigm gets a cash influx. Our government takes half of it, being in Australia. That's what they like to do. Nonetheless, we have exceedingly appreciated your support. People like Buffhead, the Sugar Mama, massive shout out to them because they were huge supporters of the show. And also, as I've said in my one-man band show that I did just before this, George Kittredge, loving memory of you as well. Thanks for your patronage as well.
All right, let's do it. Welcome back to the Canine Paradigm. I'm your host, Pat Stewart. I'm joined today by my co-host, Glenn Cook. Hello, sir.
Ahoy there, matey.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you? What's news?
Ahoy. I like that. That's a good one.
Well,
you know, that's how we were meant to answer the telephone, wasn't it? Isn't that what Alexander Bell wanted us to say? Ahoy, hoy.
Ahoy, hoy. Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Yeah. I'm bringing it back. I reckon we bring that in. Ahoy, hoy, listeners.
Last time we were talking about names. You know, what's a dog's name mean to it? We were talking about nicknames and so forth. I forgot to say that one of my nicknames used to be Captain. Captain Cook.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Even when I moved up here to Sydney, it was actually funny. My boss, Dave, who's my very good friend, him and I were at lunch. I think we're in eastern suburbs, Sydney somewhere, and these eastern suburbs ladies there. David walked past them. He said to the girls, "Do you know who he is?" And he pointed to me and they go, "No, who?" And he goes, "He's a direct descendant of Captain Cook. That's Captain Glenn Cook over there." And they go, really? Is he? And he said, yeah. I didn't know he'd done that. He'd gone to pay for lunch. And then these ladies came over to me and they said, "Oh, are you really related to Captain Cook?" And I said, "What?" And David's nodding his head.
Yeah.
And I just
you might be.
No, I've got an E. I'm not related to Captain Cook.
Oh, it's a
It's a different lineage.
one. Who knows? Maybe old James Cook got some allegations have been thrown at him. Maybe your family put the E on there to separate from him.
Well, yeah, look, he could have been an old dick slinger from way back, and, you never know. Apparently, in my lineage, well, as I've professed before, I'm half Dutch, half Aussie. Allegedly, I've got Spanish descent in me as well. According to my family, I don't know how true this is. I probably need to go back and have a look for myself. But apparently our surname was Le Cook, and they dropped the Le, and it just became Le Cook. Le Cucaracha.
Le Cook.
Le Cook.
All right, that's your new nickname. The captain is gone. Now you're the Le Cook.
Yeah, so...
all right, Le Cookie.
Le Cookie. So I don't know if that's true or not. I probably need to investigate that at some stage.
True now.
And have
it's true now.
Yeah, why not?
If retro causality, my friend, we can make that true.
Well, it's like that Chopper Reed story.
Yeah, never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Yep.
But for our American listeners, there's a guy, he would be, to people alive in Australia, Chopper would be Ned Kelly famous, you reckon?
Oh, yeah.
He was a hitman, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And sort of a career standover man, career criminal, but with a personality larger than life.
So he says. He was a bad guy and he was a villain and he was a street fighter and he was opposed to drug dealers, allegedly, and all of these amazing stories came out. But I think a lot of these amazing stories came out from Chopper himself. But he was also he was also a professional mutator. Like he had his ears cut off in Pentridge prison.
Well, he did that in jail, right? To get out of his cell. Yeah.
In H Division in Pentridge, which was known to be one of the most notoriously hard places to go to jail in Australia.
Yeah, right. If you are outside of Australia, the Chopper movie, I think it's just called Chopper, right?
Chopper with Eric Banner
plays him. Yeah, and Eric Banner put on, it's a pretty old movie. I think it's over 20 years old. Eric Banner put on a heap of weight to actually look like him. And I remember seeing an interview with Chopper saying, he was him. He's like, Eric Banner put so much work into it and embodied him so well. He's like, that's exactly what
he did an amazing job. It's what got him recognized internationally as a movie star.
Yeah. So if you're in America and you want to know some more about like 80s underworld culture in Australia, check out Uncle Chop Chop. But that's he died a while ago, but that's what we call him in Australia, Uncle Chop Chop, Chopper Reed.
Yep.
there's some wild scenes in that movie that are allegedly true when he gets stabbed. That's the best part, when he gets stabbed in jail cell by his best friend. And he's like, oh, it's a bit early in the morning for Kung Fu, isn't it, Jimmy?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a classic line.
Well, allegedly.
It's a bit early in the morning for Kung Fu.
Again, I say allegedly, a guy that I knew in Melbourne, he's got a scar on his ankle that goes in one side and goes out the other. And he's wearing flip-flops on the day we were at a barbecue. And I said, oh, what happened there? And he goes, oh, Chopper Reed shot me. And I said, seriously? I thought it was just having a lean. He goes, yeah, no, seriously. I was seeing this girl at one stage and there was a huge dispute. It was about drugs or whatever. He said, I just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And he came in and bashed a bunch of people, shot 2 people. And then he came in and pointed the gun at me and he said, and I went to jump out the window and he shot me through the ankle. I said, no shit, legit. And he goes, yeah, legit. Yeah.
Oh, Chop Chop wouldn't do that. I don't believe you. Isn't it funny how we have, like, he's a proper bad dude, right?
Yeah.
And same as Ned Kelly. Like, Ned Kelly's a proper bad guy. And in Australian culture, we're like, we put him on a pedestal because they had some good lines, maybe shot some people that we weren't like, got involved with some politicians that we weren't so sad about them shooting. And so we hold them in high regard as in their memory. We're like, oh, good old Uncle Chop Chop, even though he shot your mate for no reason.
I think the reason he rose to a level of stardom was that he was pretty funny. He had a lot of funny one-liners. Like you said, it's a bit early for karate, isn't it, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Like all those sort of things. But he was a funny sort of character and allegedly he was targeting other criminals. So he was taking care of people that he thought were human garbage, which kind of, I think people rally to that a little bit when they're kind of thinking, well, you might be a piece of shit, but if you're taking out other people who are bigger pieces of shit, where's the harm? Carry on. Keep going. So
it's like the Highlander.
Yeah.
You whittle it down to just one and then we can deal with you individually. There can be only one. Oh, goodness. All right. That's probably enough of the Uncle Chop Chop podcast.
Exactly.
We're going to get into some of these questions that we've been working our way through. This might be our last day working through them. There's a really good one that we skirted around because we want to come back to it and give it the space that it deserves, from Anna Danson, who says, your thoughts on the nuances of aggression, how and why as it shows up, the different manifestations, when it's useful versus not useful, and how to work with it. And aliens, please aliens. This is more on the aliens. We'll come back to aliens because things have changed since we last spoke.
Yes, they have, haven't they?
Shitty release of nothing information, but aggression. So this is kind of your thing, right?
It's one of those things that, as I said before, it was an area that I was trying to sort of get away from, but it's an area that's followed me around for a long period of time. It's something that I've more sort of embraced going forward because I've just found that a lot of the advice that people are trying to manage their dogs with, that they're getting off other people, is either terrible or it's incomplete. Don't get me wrong, there is some people out there giving some good advice on aggression management, and they have given people real solutions and been able to help their dog live a more fruitful and happier life with them. However, it's also a line that's rife with fraud as well. There's a lot of people trying to do the old throw the cookies on the ground and just get the dog to look at that, and hopefully that will distract them long enough for the stimuli to pass them by. Nonetheless, aggression, it's something that we're all going to be confronted with at some stage if we're dealing with an animal. Doesn't matter whether you got a cat, doesn't matter whether you got a dog, doesn't matter whether you got chickens or ducks or anything like that. There's times where our chickens are aggressive to each other. There's times where they're doing things that you would look at that and go, wow, that was an incredibly aggressive act. We got a couple of ducks, and one of the chickens in particular likes to pick on the ducks and has been jumping on one of the ducks' backs and smashing it in the back of the neck quite profusely. So when we see it happen, we correct the chicken for doing it. There's no ifs and buts about it. It's not like we go over and flick it or put a correction chain on it or anything like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you correct the chicken?
I squirt it with a hose because it doesn't like being squirted with the hose. The duck couldn't give a shit, but the chicken hates it.
Right. Okay. So in the melee, you squirt them both, and that's almost like a reinforcer to the duck and an aversive to the chicken.
Well, it's a reinforcer for the duck in that it doesn't care about the water. I mean, it's a water fowl, so it doesn't care about water. It also relieves it. It takes the pressure away of being bashed by the chicken, but the chicken hates being squirted by the hose. None of the other chickens get squirted by the hose. We love the chickens. The chickens are great. But this one chicken, whenever we see it attempting to be aggressive with the duck, now all I've got to do is even look like I'm going for the hose, and the chicken goes, no, fuck that, I'm not doing it.
Why is he doing it, do you reckon? What's he get out of the aggression?
I feel that the chicken, because it's a she, I feel that she is probably lower in pecking order with the other chickens, which she is, because there is such a thing as a pecking order. And that's why they call it pecking order, because they peck the shit out of each other.
I've just realized that's why it's called a pecking order.
That's why they call it pecking order.
That neural pathway is exploding open in my brain right now as I'm realizing that. That's like when Jay Jack told us that if you're not up to scratch, that's a dogfighting term. I was like, what? It clearly is. Oh my God.
Yeah, it comes from somewhere, and it comes from avian sort of world where it's about birds bashing each other. And they do. They beat each other up, and they have a hierarchical system and a dominant structure. And so we know which chicken is the leader in the group. The others won't fuck with her. They just know that she's the boss. And like most other good dominant leaders, they don't run around causing havoc all the time. They just do it when it's necessary, when they're guarding a resource. And it's usually resource related, when they're saying, this is mine, I don't want you to touch it until I'm done with it, and then you can have at it. For example, if I take out our bug zappers and they collect bugs at the bottom for it. So with the bugs that are in the bottom for them, the chickens love eating them. So I take them out, and that's a real high level motivator for them. It's a big prize for them to get the moths and the beetles and the bugs that are hit the bottom of the zapper. So they love them. So I take them out to them as a reward, when I let them out in the morning and they all come over to see me, and I give them all the bugs. But the boss chicken makes sure that she gets first crack at it. She'll have a run at it and a first crack, but also is happy to share while she's occupied in getting her big morsels. The other chickens will pick on around that. But if they start moving in on her, she'll have something to say about it. So they just don't. Yeah. They just don't. And that's because they have a pecking order and they know.
Yeah. So unpack that a bit for us. Because this is one of the things that I think gets really interesting when we talk about dominance and aggression, in that a lot of the dum-dums in dog training who, they're not dog trainers, they're people that talk about dog training. They'll try and tell you that dominance isn't real, and that aggression, that obviously aggression is real. Everyone can observe that. but that dominance and its role in dog training and role in social hierarchies is bullshit. And so what I think is worth unpacking a little bit is what you just said there about how the actual top dog chicken, you typically don't see picking on anyone else except when it comes feeding time, right? And then it's that they're like, no, I am going to eat first. I'm going to get the best bits. And I'm not going to take from you, but you must not take from me. And so I think it's worth sort of understanding, because I think a lot of people don't get that, like, dominance is fluid. Like, a dominant dog is not trying to act dominant all the time. He only is acting dominant when he decides this is something that's worth fighting over. I'm prepared to fight over this. Like, I feel I want this enough. I feel entitled to this enough. My survival depends on it. Whatever it is that's going through the dog's mind, or the chicken in this case, when they're willing to express that, changes. Like, some dogs are willing to fight over food, but not a ball. Like, they won't for like that's exactly the circumstance I'm in, right? Like, my two dogs, Valerie, you know, if she wasn't my dog, if she were in just a random pet owner's home, she would be food aggressive. She's borderline food aggressive with me. And it's that she's like, do not touch my food. Like, just to other dogs, not to people. She's like, I will not share this with you under any circumstances. And if you think you're coming near this, like, you are absolutely not. Whereas a ball, Remy could take a ball out of her mouth. Even though she likes the ball, she enjoys the ball, she doesn't want it as much as he wants it. And so, like, I see that in my own two dogs. Around toys, my Malinois is dominant. He's like, no, I am taking this and I'm prepared to fight. Like, and my Springer goes, no, I'm not prepared to fight. Not at all. Like, I don't care enough. And then it's the opposite with food. So, like, which one is dominant over the other? Well, it depends on the circumstance. Like, it depends on what's actually happening in that moment.
Well, it depends on
that?
Absolutely, mate. It depends on the value of whatever is in the eye of the beholder. And that's what it comes down to. And value can change on things, as we know. You and I and many of our guests that have come on the show, and anybody who's clever enough to be involved in any sort of behavior, or somebody that you would consider a good dog trainer, understands that motivation can change and will change depending on what the needs of the individual seeks at that point in time. So, tired person might not necessarily be motivated to do something that they would normally do if they're incredibly tired. Their motivation is to seek somewhere comfortable to curl up and go to sleep. A hungry person is motivated largely by food. You know, they'll ignore all other presentations of individual stimuli once again, because it's food that's driving the motivation at that point in time. If you're incredibly dehydrated and thirsty, you know, your motivation is not to eat something, it's to drink something. If you've drank so much and you've eaten so much and your bowel and your bladder is full, the motivation is to find somewhere to relieve yourself. Like, motivation changes depending on the needs at the time. So too does what an individual consider being dominant over, or classifying that level of hierarchical dominance at that point in time, because they're basically saying, that's not important to me. It's not worth a fight. That is important to me. I will fight over that. Right now, I consider that this is something that I want. And the want is not just a mediocre desire. It's something that is very high value, high list. It's an A-lister at this point in time. I'll fight you for it. You tabbed on it before when you were talking about aggression. Dominance is antecedent to aggression. It happens before aggression happens. It's something that you basically say, all right, I'm going to stack towards you. I'm going to show you presence. I'm going to show you that I'm prepared to be aggressive, but I'm not necessarily going to be aggressive. But I'm going to show you that I have the potential and the capability to do it. Now, whether you want to take it to the next level and come back at me, therefore we have the actual reaction. We have the behavior of being aggressive, because then you've said, I meet you with the challenge. I'm coming back at you. So both of us are saying, well, I'm prepared to be aggressive. You're prepared to be aggressive. We have to be aggressive to sort this out, because nobody is prepared to say, hey, whoa, I don't want to have a fight over this. You're right. Obviously, that's of more value to me. It's not worth a fight. Or in human language, it's not worth an argument. It's not worth strife. Have it. If it's that important to you, have it. And there's no need to be aggressive. There's no need for escalation at that point in time. So anybody who's confusing the two really needs to go back to basics, because it actually serves a good purpose. Sometimes it's you just saying, hey, listen, that's very important to me. You don't need it. I need it. or I want it, and you don't really want it. You're just being an antagonist at the moment. You're just taking it to piss me off, and you need to learn a lesson right here. You need to be schooled about how important this is to me, because if you don't respect me or you don't respect my need for this, then I'm prepared to take it to the next level with you. And that's where people get this confused, because they summarize it as an all-in duality sort of thing. Like if you're being dominant, you're also being aggressive, but it's being capable of being aggressive.
Yeah, I'm so with you, which is odd, Glenn. Why would we agree on some facts that does? But I want to give a human example of this, because it's one that I think about all the time when this comes up. It's a real world example that happened to a friend of mine, right? And when he told me the story, I was thinking, I remember even thinking at the time, I'm using this as a dog training example. His house got broken into. So this is a guy I was in the army with, a very capable man, right? And, not to try and talk tough or anything, but he's a guy that was a special forces dude, deployed a lot. He has killed people, right? Like, so he is a person, like when we talk about like willingness to engage in the fight, he is very, very willing and capable to do that. His house got broken into, and it was the second time in short order that his house got broken into. And he woke up, heard the people downstairs in his house. And it's a perfect example of dominance, absence, aggression, but dominance that like he's got a lot of capacity for aggression behind it if a line is crossed. So he knows there's people in his house. He had a really fancy car. And so likely what happened the first time when they broke into his house is they just find his car keys and they steal his car. And it's kids that are going to do that, right? So it's not like these are people coming to get him. It's just likely 16-year-old kids in his house stealing his car keys. So he becomes aware of this. He stands at the top of his stairs and he says, "Hey, I can hear you down there." He said, "I just want you to know nothing on the bottom floor of my house is worth you or I dying for. So you do whatever you got to do down there, but I suggest you get out of here pretty quick. I've already called the police. But if you step 1 foot onto these stairs, I'm going to kill you on the stairs because my family's upstairs." And so they immediately left, right? Like they got the fuck out of there and hightailed.
Yeah, good.
And to me, that's the perfect example of dominance, absence, aggression. He's like, hey, you're in a space, you're pushing a line. And he exerted dominance over them and was like, "I'm not happy with what you're doing now, but I'm not going to do anything about it because the risk to reward ratio isn't there for you or I, right? Because if I come down there and we engage, one of us is getting killed in the house, and that like nothing down there I would kill you over or be willing to be killed over. But my family is upstairs. So if you step 1 foot onto the stairs, that changes everything. Like now we are into the point where I am absolutely willing to use violence at that point." And when he explained it to me, like I, obviously was sympathizing with the guy, but then I thought about like, oh, that's such a good example of like the dog growl, right? Like that is the same thing. It's like, hey, I'm fucking very willing to fight over this. And then the other dog sometimes goes, "Oh, I'm not, like, I'm out of here. See you later." Like I didn't realize this was so important to you. I didn't understand that we were crossing a boundary.
Yeah, that's right. It's experimental a lot of times. Like I just didn't have the idea. I didn't understand the value. I didn't know what it meant to you. And because of your posturing and because of the ability of being able to have that display of dominance, and this is not just a normal conversation that you're having, this is encroachment. This is when you're doing something that you may not know that you're doing the wrong thing, or you may know that you're doing the wrong thing. Plenty of times where I've had personal skirmishes with people myself, and it's the same thing, like I don't profess to be an amazing tough guy or anything like that. But there's certain things that I hold value over where if you're willing to cross that line with me, you got to understand that I won't be the same person that I am usually 99% of the time that you know me. 99% of the time that you know me, I will try and verbally diffuse a situation. But when I know that you're deliberately, or you may have mistakenly done it, but there'll be a time where I think, no, that is crossing a line and you need to be schooled about this. And mate, there's not many people that I know who wouldn't do similar, especially capable people.
That's the real world. That's
the
like
real world.
If you're listening to this thinking, "Oh my God, these are bad men," fuck off. This is the real world, you dummy, right? So,
but it's women too. Like women will do this. It's not a men thing.
Yeah, of course.
It's a species thing. All species do it. Cats, dogs, birds, chickens, earthworms. You can see insects doing the same sort of thing. They will fight over something that they value enough and they need the other one to know, "I've got to school you because you don't seem to understand. This is important to me. I want it. It was mine and you're trying to take it from me.
It's a possession that means a lot to me, and you have to know that I will take it to the next level and I will invoke violence upon this. You have to know this.
Okay. So because we as humans can explain that to each other, we then I think have got ourselves to the point where we're like, oh no, that's a warning. You're giving a warning. That dog is already demonstrating aggression because it is growling or it's lunging, barking, whatever. And I think this opens the opportunity for us to talk about the ritualized aggression, the demonstration of aggression, where it's at what point is a growl and a bark and a lunge, at what point, it's a bit of a Theseus' ship. At what point does this warning become aggression because the dogs can't talk? It's all body language and posture. They've got to actually do it. It's not like my friend that can just say calmly from the top of the stairs, this is the line in the sand. If you cross at this, the dog has to wait for the actual encroachment on the line or the crossing of the line. And then the demonstration of, first of all, do you think it's fair to say a ritualized behavior of hey, this is what you're coming towards. I don't want this to happen, but this is where you're headed towards. And that would be the dog growling, showing its teeth, posturing in aggression. But do we call that aggression at this point? Where's that line? At what point do we say it's aggression versus a warning?
I feel, and especially when you listen to or you read things that people like Roger Abrantes has read, there's a lot of things that animals will do in order to display. It's a lot of displaying. It's a lot of the package of you have to understand, here I am, this is the escalation that's coming. And I think the point where it turns into aggression is, as we would say with a person, it's the moment of intent. The moment where you sort of cross the threshold is where you're thinking, this isn't working. I need to actually do something about it. I need to advance on this. And I feel that when I watch dogs initiating true aggression, it's when the dog has gone from holding ground to advancing at the person, saying, no, I need to, I need to escalate this to the level because you don't seem to understand how violated I feel right now. And that I
have to show you.
I have to show you. Yeah, exactly. It has to be something that is imprinted upon you to understand that you have crossed the line because you don't seem to get it with all of the other displays that I'm getting. So a lot of times I've had dogs growl at me before and I just think this is just the dog showing me that I feel uncomfortable, but it's not necessarily that the dog is thinking I want to be aggressive with you. This is just the dog. It's like the way that you would saying, hey, fuck off. I don't consider a person being aggressive for saying things like that. But if the person comes up and curls a fist like I just did then and does a thrusting action, I'd say, well, there it is. That's the intent that the person has to say, I'm ready to smash you. I'm ready to actually do it. And it may not happen. It may not happen. It may be, again, it could be a ritualized behavior where the person has just learned, I've done this to enough people over the years that when I do this, they run away. It's just part of the package that I have. But
and let's relate that to dogs. That's exactly how the reactive dog becomes a headache. He has this one experience where he truly is threatened, whatever the thing is, whatever happened for realsy, the dog has to kick it up a notch and show aggression, and it works. And so then he's like, oh, fucking righto. Anytime I feel a little bit of discomfort, I can start showing that, and that will make sure that I don't feel any further discomfort. Or it's a different kind of discomfort that he's going to feel, but it's more of an empowering sort of one, right?
Mate, you and I, we've been in this a long time, and quite obviously I've been doing this a degree longer, but you've picked up quite a significant amount in the time that you've been involved in this. And especially when we go into fields such as drive channeling, and we're talking about taking a dog into really feeling those feelings, not just displaying them, because there's a difference between the two of them. You can have dogs that will posture and that they will do some of the behaviors, but when the presentation is there for them, the dog goes, I don't know what to do about this, or I don't want to do anything about this. You've met me on the ground and now all I want to do is escape and avoid this situation. I just want to get out of this situation. So we kind of know at that point in time, this dog isn't real. And they're dogs for law enforcement or for sport work. We have to decide you're not a good candidate for this type of work because you really don't have the heart. It falls in conjunction of Mike Tyson saying is that everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. I often think about that when I look at dogs being worked in drive channeling, because when those dogs do feel that big feelings and they meet it, you know that at that point they are feeling truly defensive. You're doing something, you're violating my space. I'm feeling very threatened about this. I've got a lot of big feelings about it. but I'm prepared to fuck you up over it as well. Like,
Yeah.
and people listening to this, don't misread this, because this is how dog sports start getting challenged off the planet, because people hear things like this and think, oh my God, this is just untapped violence. It's not. It's something that we're actually teaching the dog to have a handle on and to manage well. And even to transfer it, as we said, we use the term drive channeling. We're trying to take the dog into feeling all those big feelings, but then also to be able to relieve itself in some sort of predatory manner as well. So the dog feels like, oh, this is such a relief. Like I felt all those big feelings and I really want to fight you, but now that I'm actually on the bite, you're rewarding me for this. I feel so much better about it. Like I don't have to feel so violated. This is actually a great feeling. And we're actually showing the dog, by showing us those big feelings, you can have this at the end of it, and then we can transform the way you feel about it. So we can take you from feeling one set of feeling into another set of feelings. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I agree entirely. I'm thinking as you're talking about, like, it's the set of feelings. That's what it is. And I think that when we're talking about aggression and the nuances of aggression as we are, aggression is not always something, when we talk about it in the dog space, overwhelmingly, it's thought of something we've got to get rid of, like, oh, you got to fix, manage, get rid of that aggression. But I think actually for people who really understand training, like we don't want to get rid of aggression. We want to manage it. We want to put it into the right places. And like, frustration becomes aggression. Like in the way that if a dog does its obedience behaviors with a bit of an aggressive mindset, what that means is it's like more committed to doing it. And like I often teach that to people is, if aggression can add like a turbo to an existing behavior. So you got a dog that can do something. If you can make them do that same thing from a slightly aggressive mindset, the same behavior becomes more pronounced, right? Like they become faster at doing it, more committed to doing it, more willing to go through difficulty to do the thing. If you bring in a little bit of aggression into the mindset of doing it. And a lot of people don't like to hear that, but they'll use the word frustration, like they'll back tie a dog to frustrate it and stuff like that. Or like even in pet dog training world, people will like to get a dog into a crate that doesn't want to go into a crate. Maybe we like put a bunch of his food in the crate and maybe his favorite toys in the crate and close the door so that he can't get into the crate. And then he frustrates over wanting the things that are in there. And then when we open the door, he goes in. That's what I'm talking about. That like ramping up, that's sort of adding a little bit of a turbo to whatever it is that you want to do by feeding in a little bit of aggression. So we know that when we're teaching it appetitively, right? Like that's a no-brainer to everybody that works in the, training dogs to a high standard. Everybody knows that if you want to up things, just frustrate the dog a little bit, you get a bit more power, but that power comes from aggression.
Yep.
And you got to be careful doing that. One of the reasons why you can't do this with like wild animals when you train them is because that frustration becomes aggression much quicker and, is likely to turn into a danger for the handler or the trainer or whatever. And that's why with wild animals, you have to be more careful. You can't play in frustration anywhere near as much. But I think for us that understand that, it's then interesting to see when you have people that are working with aggressive dog cases that are problematic, right? Like it's a, reactive dog on the street or whatever. And people go, oh, he's afraid. And you go, yeah, like he is for sure. Like I get it. This is self-preservation based. And that is where it started. But he's a dickhead now that enjoys doing that, And like for us who have seen like behaviors that come out, like behaviors that are performed in a state of aggression can be highly relieving for the effect on the other side. And even though the act of doing it can be a little bit uncomfortable. So like, I think that's one of the things when we talk nuance of aggression that I would like people to take away from the conversation is that very often a lot of the reactive dogs that we see, for sure, it started out as a problem for the dog. And the dog was, probably felt like the victim in that moment. And for the first few reps, the dog probably was like, oh, I'm afraid I'm in danger and I have to perform this. But then when he comes out the other side a bunch of times of it, he starts to think like, oh, I quite like bossing people around, right? Like I've learned this has an effect. This aggression that I'm demonstrating gets me things that I like and I feel good about it. And that feeling of, if you think that the possibility of a fight exists and you posture like, yep, let's fucking do it. Like, let's have that fight. And the other person, thing, dog, whatever, crumbles and backs off. That is a fight. Like the feeling that follows that, you don't need anyone to click and give you a treat. right? Like
You already got
call that
you already got room.
reinforcement. Yeah.
Well, as
You
we were
are highly fucking reinforced by your aggression being effective. And that is at a deep emotional level. The kind of deep emotions that you're clicking and giving a treat ain't going to touch on it isn't even going to fucking scratch the surface of.
Mate, as we started this conversation off and talking about pecking order, even let's say, for example, two chickens get into a skirmish, because they've decided to take it to that level. One is saying, I'm the boss, and the other one saying, well, I don't believe you. And then the boss chicken actually convinces the next chicken, I am the boss, by pecking it enough and beating it up enough for it to say, yep, you're right, you're the boss, you're a better, more skilled fighter than I am. That next chicken isn't just going to plummet to the bottom of the line. It's going to fight its way all through the order to find out, where am I in this order? I've just found out I'm not at number 1. I'm not at number 2, but there's 6 chickens here and I fit in at number 3 because I just beat up number 5 and 6. So I'm number 3, or whatever order I'm trying to say. But that chicken realizes I'm somewhere in the middle of where I am. And that's how a pecking order is sorted out. Everybody establishes and understands, like, yes, I know where I am. I know where I fit into this. Now, that doesn't mean that there won't be a reshuffle. That doesn't mean that there won't be some resurgent of another chicken saying, well, I don't like being number 5. I want to be number 4, so I want to try and work my way up. Cool, I was successful. I beat number 4 chicken. I'm number 4 chicken now. I wonder if I can make it to number 3. It tries. No, I can't make it to number 3. Number 3 chicken's still better than me. I'll go back down. But then you go down to number 6 chicken, who's not happy there. So it thinks, fuck it, I can't beat any of these other chickens up, but I can beat the duck up because the duck won't fight me back. So, somewhere along the line, it has to realize, where can I relieve myself, because I really don't like being at the bottom and having no one else to beat on, because there is somebody else to beat on here that won't fight me back. So I have a position that I can control and that I feel like I have some sort of sanctuary and some sort of ground that I can hold over this position. Like I said, mate, the university of life is out in the field. It's actually watching behaviors instead of listening to two dickheads talking about it who've never had any experience with this whatsoever.
Yeah, as you're talking, I'm thinking, hurt people, and hurt chickens, hurt ducks. That's the way it goes. Oh dear. All right, let's talk aggression though, in terms of like when it is you're like, oh shit, no, this is a problem. Like we have to fix this immediately. Because a lot of the time you and I might look at aggressive cases and when you go like, nah, that's not aggressive, right? Like that's just the dog standing up for himself or who's advocating for himself. And like it is aggression, but it's not a like, this is a problem. Well, when do you reckon you're in that line of like, this is a problem?
That's a good point there, right there, mate, because I think I'm sure this has surfaced in many conversations and it should continue to. What you and I don't see as a problem may not necessarily be a problem for you and I, but it is a problem nonetheless for the person who's holding the dog at the time or has the dog in the neighborhood. At this level, we can't dismiss that it's not a problem and it's not aggression, because it is somebody's problem. And I think that's where we need to help resolve whatever the actual issues are. Because there's been dogs, like I said, that have come into me and I've thought, I've gone to say the line, I know you think this is aggression, but it's not that aggression, but I don't say that anymore because it doesn't help the person to say that. What we do is we start saying, yeah, okay, I can see how it's upsetting you. I can see how it's become an issue for you. Let's work on resolving this. Let's start to minimize this. Let's counter condition the behavior that we've currently got here at the moment. Or it might be, as I've said before, mate, which it's not just a flog on products, just changing dietary issues and reducing inflammation and so forth like that. People don't seem to realize that unhealthiness, lack of health, can be another issue, which is compounding how the dog feels about the situation. I don't feel good. I feel unhealthy and unhappy, and I don't like the way life presents itself to me at the moment. So my trigger is far more of a hair trigger. If anybody who's ever been into shooting or anything like that, some people like on their firearm, they like a trigger that is heavy and it takes a little bit of weight behind it to pull it. And competition shooters usually like their firearm triggers really, really light. So all they have to do is just touch it with the pad of their finger and it discharges around. That's where you get the term a hair trigger from. So with some animals, when we're describing behavior, it's often been coined as a hair trigger, like something that happens often.
Go off easily.
Yeah, it goes off easily and you don't see much of an escalation point, all the warning signs that you may see in a normal sort of situations. And people will say that to me quite frequently, my dog has a hair trigger. And this relates back to a point that you made before, because there's been so much reward for it and there's so much relief for it, it's actually myelinated the behavior. So it's created it. And what myelination means is it's a learned behavior over a period of time that's now fast tracked through a synaptic pathway. It now happens at, like it's the go-to behavior. It's like anytime the stimulus is presented, bang, I'm into the behavior straight away. Like I'm going to, this is how I react to it. I don't have to think about it anymore. I don't have to go through all these stages. And this is where the hair trigger starts to build from, because the dog would stage through it before, like I'll try and get away from it. I'll try and do this. I'll try and show some teeth. I'll try and bark at you, but none of that has worked. So what I have found working is just opening my mouth, making a lot of growling noises and taking some lunging actions towards you. And then people go, oh, but it's a hair trigger. But it wasn't always. It wasn't always a hair trigger. It's just that the early stage of the dog trying to show you, look, I don't like this. I'm quite uncomfortable about it. You're not getting the point. And this is working. This is stopping the children from pulling my tail or pulling my ears or doing whatever it is. So when we're workshopping this, when I have people coming in to see me, these are all the questions I ask. I'll say, how long have you had the dog for? Is the dog that you've had since a puppy? Is it a rescue dog? And there's no difference between rescue dogs and puppies. It's just the delay in time or the information that dog has learned over the period of its lifetime. Like even a dog that is a well-loved family dog and has transposed into a new owner, it's the same sort of thing. It has information from its life before. You just have to work out what the code is, much like people who trying to work out how did you get a virus on your machine, like why is your computer not working? And you show it to a coder, the coder goes, yeah, you got a virus. It's interfering with the reliability and the workmanship of your computer. We need to remove it. We need to get rid of it. And this is subsequently what we need to do with the dog. We need to we need to change the coding that's gone into your dog. We need to teach the dog that the way that it felt life needed to be before is not how it is going forward. And there's a process in doing that, as we found with anything. And it's an incremental process. It's not just going to go away with the first visit. When people come to any type of trainer or behaviorist or anybody that's working with an aggressive dog, they have to understand you're in it for as long as you need to be until you convince the dog that it no longer needs to display those behaviors and the alternatives are far better, and the old behavior only leads to a shitty outcome in its lifestyle. And as soon as you convince your dog like that, and it's the same thing for people, mate. Like you and me know so many people that you just think, why are you such a, why are you such a piece of shit? And it's just that they don't, that's the problem. They just don't seem to understand that their behavior, until somebody that they love or somebody that they trust, or it's happened enough times to them where they've lost friends and, they've just had people coming in and out of their life. Maybe if they're lucky enough, they'll have an epiphany where they go, maybe it's me. And that's a good question for a human being to answer, but a dog is not capable of that, because the dog is basically grifting its way through life, figuring out like, this is how I make my life feel better. And sometimes people feel like that as well until they realize it's not really. And the more deductive cognitive side of people, they kind of go, it's not really, like I seem to be burning through a lot of people. People don't seem to trust me. I seem to be losing space in my circle of friends. Like people don't want me around. People don't speak highly of me. People don't value me. Why is that happening? When they do get to that point in time where they're going, maybe it's me, and that's your job to do with your dog, is show the dog, hey, it's you. It's the way that you're behaving. This is why your life is shitty. You do want to turn it around? Here are the tools to do it. But it's a slow process. It's a slow process for people too, because once you're comfortable with a behavior, or once a behavior is myelinated, it's very fucking hard to get rid of. But once you start to break that down and then change it and counter condition the behavior away from that and start to show them the alternatives are far better, and your life on the other side of this is far better. And once you grasp that, when I'm saying you, I could mean a human or a dog, but once the entity, the individual has taken hold of that, they become very empowered by it. And then they realize, I didn't know. I just didn't know. I didn't know my life could be so much better. But now I can see, I actually have had this epiphany. I've seen the light. I've come into a new dawn. Like I can feel it. I didn't understand this before. I didn't know my life could get better. I just had nothing to compare it to other than this old shitty way of being, but I didn't know it was an old shitty way. It just served me for being this way.
It was familiar.
It was familiar. Exactly right. It's so frustrating. It's frustrating for owners of dogs or family members with other family members or friends with friends. It's so frustrating when you're thinking, why don't they understand this? Why don't they grasp it? And it's because there's times where they don't want to or they don't understand it and they've never seen the alternatives. In order for things to change doesn't just happen when you're comfortable or you are set in a rhythmic style of behavior, because you're on a continual schedule of reinforcement at that point in time. And you're reinforced by your old behaviors because you kind of think, well, this keeps me alive, this keeps me safe, or somehow this makes me feel good. So you don't understand that you need to get rid of these behaviors. But when you do understand that you need to get rid of these behaviors, when you kind of have it shown to you, when it's spelled out to you as a human to dog relationship or even to a human relationship, when it's spelled out to you, when you finally understand it, when you grasp it, when you really take hold of it, then you go, I need to change this. This isn't a good behavior. This is a destructive order of behaviors that I was not aware of, but now I am. Now I'm going to eliminate those behaviors or even make them go fully extinct. I don't want to do them anymore. I don't want to even acknowledge them anymore, because the new set of directives that I've got now, the new code that I have, makes everything better in my life. And that's the only time that you will see effective change taking place. But please believe me when I say it is not a quick fix. People have come to me in one lesson and they just think, oh, that's it. That's all the advice I need. But even if you do make this one lesson, like even if I never see you again, here are the things that you need to do. And if you don't do these things, don't expect change from the dog. It's not the dog's fault anymore. It's yours, because now you know. And if you don't do it, you can't blame the dog and you can't hold the dog accountable for it anymore. It's all you. You're the piece of shit in the story. You have to understand that. And I don't say it exactly like that, but they have to come to terms with, it is my dog's problem at the moment. But if I don't help the dog get through to it because I'm not prepared to maybe change the dog's diet, which is, it's profoundly, there's so many people out there who aren't feeding their dogs well as a start. I know I'm on this bandwagon and it's nothing to do with our products. It's just overall. If you listen to anybody who talks about human health, like the decline in human health and why there are so many epidemics of unhealthy people, and now the epidemics have split to horses, to cats, to dogs, to guinea pigs, to birds, and all that, is because their diets are not proficient or exceptional enough that they help them maintain a good, healthy stature. Because there are so many other fast food options, convenient options that people are willing to do. And that's a big step. That's a big fucking load that you can take away from some of the problems that you already had. All right, you've combated that. You've changed your diet. We still need to work on the behavioral side of things. We still need to get rid of this viral code that's in you. We still need to eliminate that. It still needs to go extinct. We still need to show you. And by doing that, there has to be an alternative. There has to be an alternative. There has to be something better. There has to be light at the end of the tunnel to attract you to say, this is very hard for me. I'm comfortable where I am. I don't know why I'm comfortable where I am, but I seem to be comfortable where I am. But what you're presenting to me, the picture of what you're showing to me, it's getting brighter and brighter each day. Each day it's more and more appealing until finally you're ready to reach out and grab it and say, no, I'm going for that, lock, stock and barrel. I'm grasping that with both hands. I'm going to leave my old ways behind. I'm going to embrace the new ways. It doesn't mean that you have to become a whole new person. It just means that you've got a whole new set of rules or capabilities that you can rely on now, and you can have a better, more peaceful life. And I feel that when I'm trying to achieve an outcome for people, it's peace, it's harmony, it's coexistence, and that's what we're trying to get, is a point of singularity where you and the dog or you and your family can all come together and go, oh, isn't this so much better? With all the shit that's going on, with everything that's happening in my life, I don't want to come home after I've been fighting with coworkers, fighting with family, and then also fighting with my fucking dog. You should be coming home and saying, oh, the one thing that offers me sanctuary in life is spending time with my dog, not taking my dog for a walk and then finding out it's going to be a fucking fight with the whole neighborhood over the shitty behaviors my dog does. You don't want to invite more shit into your life. There's enough out there, as we've been talking about our political landscape before. There's enough out there. We've got enough shitty politicians that are trying to ruin our lives for us. Our dogs should be a point of sanctuary, but they're relying on us for the code. They don't know as we have spoken about before, they don't know how they're supposed to function in an environment until they get all of the coding, all of the information from us, i.e. all of the behaviors that they're supposed to do. They'll just do behaviors, and they just do behaviors that they feel comfortable with, and they just start to do these things because they think this keeps me alive, this keeps me away from trouble, this stops me from feeling shitty, and people have got to realize I need to do more about this. I need to step up.
Listening to you then, it keeps coming into my mind, this idea that it's certainly true of people and observably true of dogs, is that a familiar discomfort is often less aversive than an unfamiliar unknown. That's the trap that we build our personalities around, and so do dogs, is that even though this doesn't feel great, even though I'm uncomfortable, even though I don't enjoy this, I know it.
Yeah.
And I know how it works. I know what happens. I know the outcome. The outcome is I have to, with a dog, I'm exposed regularly to things that I'm worried about. I have to dig within myself, draw courage, and I can push those things away. And I feel good about having pushed them away. Even though I might be curious about what they are, I might actually feel a bit starved of love or attention. Maybe that's a dog that I would really enjoy to play with, but I can't let that happen because I'm in this familiar discomfort. I know it. I've survived through it. It gives me an opportunity to do it again tomorrow. Even though it's a shitty way to live, it's my familiar way to live. I'll default to that. And I think that when people try to change their own lives, when we try and change the lives of dogs, you then got to take them out of that familiar discomfort into an unfamiliar, terrifyingly aversive situation where you don't know how it's going to go. And I think when we think about, like, we have so many buzzwords in dog training that people throw around, and we never bother to unpack and have like a big conversation about. We say we desensitize and counter condition, right? And everybody says that, and we know what it means. Oh, make him not afraid of it, make him like it, right? Like, it's like, yeah, okay, but like, let's talk about the emotional roller coaster that is desensitization and counter conditioning, right? Like, most people have at one point or another kind of done something like that with themselves. I was having a really interesting conversation with Jane last night. So I got bitten last night, right? Not a serious bite, but a bite nonetheless. The dog didn't intentionally bite me. It was just like bad positioning by the dog and me trying to fix it. It just stapled me one time across the wrist. As I was cleaning out the wound, I was talking to Jane about how aversive experience I have, not to needles, but to watching needles go into me.
Oh yeah, it's
right. So
that's not fun.
I can get needles all day. It doesn't worry me at all. It doesn't worry me in the slightest. Right. I get the needle. You can put an IV in me, give me a shot. It doesn't worry me, but I ain't watching. No fucking way am I watching. Right.
The same.
Yeah. But the reason that is, I know why that is because on my CFA course, like my combat first aid course, as a commando, our course is pretty wild. You have to be able to put an IV in someone under night vision goggles. Right. So you are, you are practicing that a lot. You are practicing putting an IV in, and they do not make it easy. Like, initially it starts easy and you practice on these little fake arm things, but it gets to the point where you have to start live IVing people. And as they point out, by the time one of us is putting an IV in one of us, we are in bad fucking shape. Like, this is never going to happen under good conditions. Yep. By the time we're doing this to each other, this is only going to happen under fucking terrible conditions. So they continually make it harder and harder, and you have to be assessed under like quite difficult conditions. And I can remember, and you have to do this to each other on the course, right? And I can remember two like quite good friends of mine fishing around in my arm.
Oh yeah.
To find the vein. And me watching it happening and just developing a hard aversive to it, right? Like, over that time, to the point where now, like, that is deeply ingrained in me as a like, oh, nah, that is a thing that is, I do not want that to happen. It gives me anxiety to think about. It's something I don't want anything to do with. I can get the needle, that's fine. Don't make me watch it go in. Since then, like when I've had to have an IV put in or whatever, I usually say to the nurses or whoever's doing it, I'm like, there's a sweet vein right here. Where you go? And I like put my arm out and turn and look the other way. And I'm like, I just can't watch that go in. It gives me the heebie-jeebies. But could I fix that? Yeah, like I probably could, but there would be some fucking discomfort to fix that, right? And so like I know how to desensitize and counter condition. If that was the thing that I wanted to fix in myself, this is a conversation we we're having last night, the juice is not worth the squeeze, right? Because The process of desensitization counter condition on many things is fucking hard work, man. It can be aversive because you have to slowly be introduced to these very like low level stresses, become okay with them. Or the way that I would tend to do things to myself is like, no, I'm going to flood. I'm going to just go through this. I'm going to come out the other side. But that is a difficult emotional roller coaster to go on any kind of desensitization counter conditioning is a roller coaster. Like that's the difficult part is like, you're going to have to confront the thing and change the way you think about stuff. And it's not just the confronting of the thing. It's the change the way you think about stuff because that is fucking hard to do. And with many people, that's the aversion. With many dogs, that's the aversion. It's the unknown of change. So like, yeah, the process of desensitization counter conditioning for like an aggressive dog or reactive dog, whatever, like the process, you got to expose them. There's stress and all that involved. But really the big stress not just comes from the existing problem of what they've been exposed to, but it's the unknown of like, okay, once I'm desensitized, the counter condition, like how is this going to go? And that's where like, say we take the aversive nature away, we get to desensitize. It's not causing the issue that it once was. The dog's no longer doing it. Now the counter condition is the unknown. That's what we've got to start showing to the dog. And like, that's the education part. And at that point, you're engaging a lot of thinking because usually for us, by the time as trainers, by the time we're even getting a call, there's no one whose dog bark, lunge, growls for the first time. They go home, pull out the yellow pages and call a dog trainer. That's not how it goes. Right? Or get online and Google dog trainer in my area. Like that ain't happening after the first rep. By the time we get the call, it's been going for a year, right? Like by the time someone, and usually it's because there's been an incident that puts the handler or the owner over the line, right? Like usually by the time they're calling a trainer, it's because the straw has broken the camel's back. There's been a final incident where the people are like, nah, this is it. It's never the first incident.
Yeah, they're at that point where they realized how significant the cost is. And it's, like it's a cost and value process. But once you realize, the cost is escalating now and it's at an uncomfortable point, that's where they decide this is where it needs to change because the cost is now unbearable. And it really is, it fits into that category. Jordan Peterson often talks about like a lot of momentum, a lot of behavioral changes will come when people really feel that this has become unbearable. And once it's become unbearable, they're so uncomfortable in the situation that it forces change. Listening to you talking then as well, and some of the examples that you were giving reminded me of an old movie, and it's kind of a comedy, but it's kind of a disaster movie at the same time with Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston called The Breakup.
Oh, yeah.
It's a really good movie if you want to watch somebody who needs to change behaviorally with his family, his business, and with his love life, but it takes a disaster for it to happen. And only after the shitty situation unfolds, only then do they realize, things need to change. I need to change a lot of things about my life that I didn't realize was a problem because I was in a comfortable rut. That's where a lot of us get into, mate. And you were using some really good examples of that before. But that movie, if you haven't seen the movie, it's a good movie to watch how some people just don't understand. I am the problem. I don't understand that I'm the problem. I'm thinking everybody else is the problem. Like you're the problem, you're the problem, you're the problem. I am the problem. I need to change. Like I need to be better than what I'm doing. The end of the movie is a good outcome, but the start of the movie, the middle of the movie, you're just watching a fucking shipwreck happening. That's that point that I was talking about before. That's the singularity of unbearableness where you go, oh, fuck. This doesn't feel great anymore. Like it's just so fucking uncomfortable. This is the fire that's lit under the donkey. I actually need to move. I can't just stand here or I'll burn alive from here. I need to gain momentum in another direction. It felt good before. I don't know why, but it did. It felt good before, but everything is falling away. And sometimes dogs just don't understand the alternative because they're not smart enough to work it out on their own. And some people are just lazy or selfish or ignorant and they don't have the tools themselves. Where you and I have professed in many conversations that we've had over many years of talking both here and outside and with colleagues and so forth, where we all say, I wish I met you 6 months ago or a month ago or a year ago or however long the dog was. We could have said it to a different tangent, but they haven't then reached that point of it being unbearable for them. They had to find out. Like, it was so fucking shitty and so tumultuous and so terrible. And that was the point where they basically thought somebody's dog got attacked as a result of this. It bit one of my children, like I've been bitten by my own dog, or my dog killed another one of my family pets or something like that. And at that point, that's where the people go, no, this is unbearable. This is so fucking horrible. Yeah. I need to change it here. We've often fought against regulation in dog training and dog trainers being regulated or anything like that. And that's largely through a mistrust of government, because they always fuck things up with whatever they're doing. But I would love it if people had to do a course with a professional outfit of trainers and behaviourists where they got a puppy and they learned the basics from the get-go rather than just taking it home and hoping for the best. There's YouTube clips, there's courses, you've got courses available where people can get online, they can learn from really intelligent and really dynamic people and really researched people on how to give their dog their best life. It's nothing made them do it, or it didn't get to a point where it's unbearable where they need to get online and start doing some scrolling and searching. It just didn't exist at that point in time. So they kind of think, well, I can fumble my way through this. I know enough Cesar Millan to go tss, 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 when my dog's being naughty, and do a couple of those fucking shitty things. But up until that point in time, mate, that's where I think people need to change, and that's where you will start to see a shift in people's own behavior. Like, we talk about dog behavior a lot, and I use the word singularity. That point of singularity is you and the dog connecting together to form that singularity. That's where it needs to come from.
Totally. Well, so I feel like we have discussed the nuances of aggression.
Well, it's
some of them.
It's such a dynamic and complex arena. It doesn't need to be. Like, I'm not trying to make it out to that it's so specialized that nobody can learn anything about it, because the only way you learn about it is by learning about it, by spending enough time in the chair and doing the same things that we recommend for training dogs, is incrementally increase your intelligence and your exposure to it, that you actually see enough of it and go, yeah, I'm not just putting on a harness and throwing some cookies on the ground and just hoping for the best. I'm actually seeing people working with different variations and with different breeds of dogs over different circumstances as well, because there'd be times where it may be very mild, and that's the call to action. That's the thing that you need to do. You might be able to solve some behaviors with that, but not all of them. You can't just rely on one technique to resolve all of those problems, and that's where the complexity comes into it, and that's where people have got to be a little bit more skilled in it, because I will say a scorn. The scorn is I see a lot of people who are very ill-prepared offering high-level aggression cases with dogs, and I'm just thinking, you don't have the skills and the understanding to be able to help people resolve this sort of situation. It would be like me going out there and, because I'm doing psychology and behavior with dogs, setting myself up as a psychologist and just hoping for the best with fucking around, digging through people's minds. If people come to me for advice, I'll give them advice on what I think is a friend. But when I can see that they're in dire straits, I'll say to them, I think you need some professional counseling at this point, my friend.
Yeah.
That's
a good example. Hey, like, as a dog trainer, when someone asks you some stuff, you could be like, yeah, this is what I think. But then when they're like, and I'm going to court with it, and at that point you're like, oh, no. You need to talk to a person who specializes in that.
Yeah.
This is where it ends for me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's been many times where I can see that I'm just out of my depth, so I'm not going to start digging around in their brain anymore at that point in time. I'm just going to say, I think you need to speak to somebody who has spent a lot of years working with this and been in the field and intimately knows how to deal with this. And also somebody that you can talk to without the fear that this is going to go any further. Like, you have discretion when you're talking to somebody. And that's a lot of times when I'm talking to people about therapeutic methods, especially when you get into the realms of humanity, that's somewhere where people need to feel safe as well. They need to know when they're going to have this conversation outside, it's not going to go any further. Whereas you're telling a friend, even friends with great intentions, people love secrets. People love using secrets as currency. We trade in secrets all the time. Mate, the amount of times I've had people say, I swear I won't tell anyone, and yet I know that things that I've told people in the strictest of confidence has been passed around as currency. Yeah. It's human nature. Sometimes you think, oh, fuck, I've got a secret. It's like I've got a bunch of hot coals burning in my pocket. I need to get it out. It's gossip. It's something that I can trade with other people. I'll tell them some gossip. They'll tell me some gossip. It's all good fun. And I'll trust that other person that they won't go any further with it. But it's like the conga line. They'd think, fuck, cool, I've got some currency. I can go and trade with somebody else. And then they can tell me their gossip and I'll tell them all the gossip that I've got. And it just goes on and on and on. Whereas I say to people, I know we're getting further from the topic, but I say to people, What you're telling me is probably a little intense. It's probably a little intimate. And I think it's far beyond my pay grade and my intelligence level. I don't have the capability to give you anything than a loving friend's advice. I've done this plenty of times with family and with friends. I've just said, you know, I've done it before. I've gone off and sought the help of a professional when my head's been full of shit. There's a lot of things that we never get through life without a bit of a dulling of our blade. You know, a lot of people like to fucking take the sheen off that blade over life. And I think that sometimes you just need to go and get it sharpened up by somebody who is skilled enough to hone the edge back on and show you how to maintain it yourself. And that is where I like to know dog trainers are working with as well, is they're not just in it going, fuck it, I'll just have a go. Yep.
All right, that's it for another episode of the Canine Paradigm. As always, if you like what you hear, like, rate, share, subscribe. Do that through whatever subscription service you download us from, and then go somewhere else and do it to another one. No one checks. You're allowed to write reviews for anything you want, anywhere you want to write them.
Yep.
If you want to support the show, we'd really appreciate that. Patreon is that what keeps the lights on, so it keeps the show going. Really, really, truly appreciate all of you who support us through Patreon. We do that through multiple tiers where there's a huge backlog of information. I just put something into Patreon just now before we started recording.
The $3 tier is not the Patreon tier. That's just the like buying us a coffee one too, because people have asked me online. Right. They've said, "I've just put $3 in. Why don't I see all the content?" Because the $3 tier,
you see shit tons of content. There's heaps of content in there, and we put the odd thing in there now and again going forward.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yep. That's keeping us online and supporting us. So if you want to do that, if you're just saying, "Hey, I just want to flick you a couple of bucks, $3 from a few of you," like everybody and people of Australia all know at the same time at the moment, you know, our government's doing everything to try and fucking take all our money away from us. Pat and I just got smashed with fucking massive tax bills the other day. Anyone who's got a business knows what we're talking about. The government is basically our business partner at this point in time. They're taking half of our money away from us.
Controlling share of our business.
Yeah.
Isn't that fucking
It's
crazy?
fucking, it's terrible.
So wild?
It's just disgusting how that's been allowed to happen. And
I'm leaving. I'm going to the moon. I'm going to live on the moon.
If anyone threatens to abduct me, I'm going. That's it. I'll take I'll take a probe in the ass. I'm going.
So legit question.
Yeah.
Legit question.
Yeah.
You hear a noise, you get up, you walk outside, spaceship landed there.
Yep.
And there's 2 short greys, 1 tall grey. And they're like, "Hey, get on board." And you go, "Oh, what's your answer?"
No, probably not with the greys.
Yeah.
If it was the Nordics, I'd go. Yeah, I'd go with the Nordics.
What about, so you're getting on with the Nordics.
Yep.
What about like a mantis being? They look like a big praying mantis. You getting on with them?
Ooh, I would be scared. I would be curious. So I'd be in conflict immediately because I wouldn't know whether to go and get a shotgun and have at it or whether to make first contact or my first contact. But to actually see if there is some sort of conversation. But you're kind of thinking to yourself, it's like birds of a feather. The saying birds of a feather flock together. What likeness do I have with an insectoid? Like what relationship would I have with an insectoid?
And why does he want you on his ship?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
a better question.
Yeah, like am I food or am I a project? Or whereas I kind of feel like if a Nordic race of people came down and you went again, it's a bit more of a bird of a feather. Like they're humanoid, they're intelligent. Yeah. There has been rumors of negotiations between the Nordics and the various different people around the globe in hierarchical position. So my position would be, probably only the Nordics I would feel more comfortable about getting on the ship and going for a trip.
And the people who think we're crazy, I mean, obviously we are, but the UFO disclosure space, people want us to talk about aliens. They're now openly discussing that there's at least 4 species of alien. That's been openly discussed by people who would know. And they've cited the greys as one species, although there's lots of different kinds of greys. The people who are into this. So one thing I want to say before we talk any further about this is like, I enjoy the nonsense of all of this. I don't necessarily believe any of it. Like, I'm not even sure what I believe. I enjoy the information and the nonsense. I think there's, like we've discussed, there's definitely something going on there.
It's great theatre.
Exactly. It's just get the popcorn out and watch this unfold. But so they reckon the people are talking now about there's 4 species, the greys, and there's numerous subsets of greys, short greys and tall greys. There's the Nordics, which apparently are like 7 foot tall people, and they're called Nordics because they look like they're Swedish, like they're like almost like an albino kind of person.
Bluish grey sort of person with long silver hair.
Long white hair or blonde hair.
Yeah.
There's the mantis type beings that look like praying mantises. And apparently what makes people say they look like praying mantises is they fold their arms. So they've got like a sort of triangle shaped head, but their front arms fold over each other. So that's why people say they look like a mantis. And then the reptilians. I didn't even ask you because no one's getting on with the reptilians. No one's getting on the ship with the reptilians. You'd have to be fucking crazy. Yep. They're dinosaurs. It's fun. Since we last finished an episode talking about alien nonsense, they released a bunch of UFO footage that was all nonsense. It was all like, most of that stuff was already out in public domain. And that's enraged a couple of the big whistleblowers, especially like it only happened a couple of days ago that David Grush, who's a big time whistleblower, and he has made threats in the past about like he's given a timeline and said, if you guys don't disclose on this timeline, I will. He's under all these secrets. Evidently, that if you get briefed into these UFO compartments, like the NDAs are very serious. They're like, basically you forfeit your life if you speak this. And so he has said, I'm not doing that until this sort of timeline, and we're approaching that. So he held a press conference on the steps of Congress the other day saying they haven't told us shit. So it's interesting. It's fun to watch this space. It could just be a giant distraction from the many world wars that are firing up at this time. It's highly likely, in fact, that that's what it is. But there's something going on. I'm not sure we'll ever get real answers, but I know that there's something happening there.
Exactly. But
I too would hesitate to go with the greys. I think that greys are kind of scary. Same, like I probably am okay. Like the humanoid things, for some reason, I'm less scared of them. Probably should be more scared, but for some reason, I'm less scared. The more humanoid, the less scared I am for some stupid reason. Anyway, that's it.
Unless it's like the old TV series V, where they come as humans, but they're really reptilian.
Yeah. They're really reptilians, yeah. So my favorite thing has been that David Icke, right? So, David Icke has since the 90s been saying some... But so I saw a podcast with him recently, and the Epstein Files vindicates him of everything he's been saying except the reptilian connection. So like he's been saying for ages, everything that has now been proven to be true and people have been saying he's ridiculous for. The last thing is that the royal family and various others are reptilians. And so I saw him, he's like standing up like, hey, I'm 99% accuracy. I will not be surprised if that final 1% comes true, because that's the basis of the whole thing. And like what he basically said was the fact that they're reptilians is the cause. What the things that are now proven to be true are the symptoms. Right. But the cause is that they're not human beings. Anyway, like he's always been thought of as a ridiculous person who says ridiculous things. And the Epstein Files proved 99% of what he said to be true.
I've been following David Icke for many, many, many years. And I watched an old video of him back in the early 2000s where he's going on a massive rant on stage, speaking to thousands of people. Once again, I've shown that video to other people over the years and they've gone, he's a bit of a whack job, David Icke. Now you look at it and all of the framework that he's talking about with what the government's doing around the world, it's all coming true. Even to this day, he's going, I'm just telling you because I'm telling you, I'm speaking to people who are fucking unfolding the plan of these evil, manipulative people.
Yeah. So reptilians real thing, maybe the royal family. All right, we should stick to dog training. We're finishing wrapping up. You can get t-shirts. Maybe we need a new alien t-shirt. That's what we need.
Yeah.
We need a funny t-shirt to go into spring. I'll get my wife onto it.
Yeah, maybe one of us getting probed or something like that. But people are going, what is it with you and probing?
There's a whole thing on that. If people care, we can talk about that because the probing
you have talked about that.
I have, because it's a cover that they made up.
You talked about that about 4 episodes ago.
Yeah. Okay, good. Because the grey abductions that people talk about are all they take gametes, right? So like it's a breeding program of some kind. And so, what'd you get probed? It was just a cover.
Yep.
Anyway, all right. So get a t-shirt from Spring, links in the show notes.
Yep.
If you want to get in touch with us, jump into the Facebook discussion group. That's where we group source lots of information. It's where we look for ideas to talk about, and you can prompt us to talk about aliens in there if you want. But if you want to shoot us an email, we are info@thecanineparadigm.com. Love you all. Good luck out there. Goodbye. The wrong button.
Oh my God, it's a whole fucking.
Fortuitous.
What the hell is this?
What's happened to your sound pad? We got different buttons going.
There we go. There we go.
There it is.
There's the old faithful.
Congratulations, everybody.